A small, crumpled paper brushed my palm before I even noticed the figure in front of me. She had stepped out from the shadow of a side alley so quickly, it felt like she'd materialized there, thin frame, oversized coat fraying at the cuffs, hair sticking to her face like she'd been walking in rain that never came. Her eyes didn't meet mine. They darted left, then right, scanning the street like she was counting exits. Without a word, she pressed the folded note into my hand. Her fingers were cold, trembling, but firm enough to make me keep it. Then she turned and walked away, fast, with an uneven gait, the kind you get when you've learned to keep moving even if you're hurt. I stood frozen in the middle of the sidewalk, the rush-hour crowd flowing around me, muttering at my stillness. The paper felt soft from too much handling, like it had already lived in someone else's pocket for days. I unfolded it. "They're watching you." That was it. 4 words in messy, almost slanted handwriting, the pen pressing so hard it left impressions on the back. I looked up. She was already at the corner, coat swinging open with each step, revealing a faded floral dress underneath. I called out, "Hey!" But my voice was swallowed by a bus roaring past. When it cleared, she was gone. The note stayed in my hand all the way to my apartment. My building was 4 blocks away, but every block felt longer, my ears tuned to footsteps behind me that never came. Inside the lobby, I hesitated before checking my mail, my eyes drifting to the front door's glass. A black sedan sat across the street, engine idling, windows tinted to the point where I couldn't see the driver. It didn't move when I entered. It didn't move when I took the elevator upstairs. From my living room window, I could still see the faint red glow of its taillights in the dusk. My fingers tightened around the note. Was this connected? Or was I just letting a stranger's paranoia become mine? The black sedan was back the next night. Same spot across the street, same quiet engine hum I could hear faintly even from my 3rd-floor window. The driver's side never moved, not even a silhouette shifting. I told myself it could be nothing. People park in the same spots all the time. Maybe it belonged to a neighbor. Maybe I was seeing patterns that weren't there. But a part of me, some quiet instinct, wouldn't let it go. Around 9, I decided to test it. I grabbed my coat, locked my door, and walked down the block, pretending to scroll through my phone. Halfway down, I stopped abruptly and turned back toward my building. The sedan's brake lights flickered on. Just for a second. Not long enough to pull away, just long enough to let me know they'd seen me. I crossed the street toward it, my heart thudding against my ribs. I kept my gaze fixed on the windshield, hoping to catch a glimpse of whoever was inside. But before I got close, the engine revved, and the car pulled smoothly into traffic, disappearing at the next intersection. I stood there for a few seconds, breathing hard in the cool night air. The street was quiet again. Too quiet. The next morning, there was a sound outside my apartment door. A soft, deliberate slide, paper against floor. When I opened the door, a folded note lay there, smaller than the one from before but written on the same kind of cheap, lined notepad paper. "Don't go to work today." I read it twice. My hands were damp, and I couldn't tell if it was from fear or frustration. I thought about calling the police, but what would I even say? That someone left me 2 weird notes and there was a car that maybe was following me? It wasn't exactly the kind of evidence that got immediate action. And I hated the idea of sounding paranoid. So I got dressed for work. The whole walk there, I scanned every street, every corner. No sedan. No sign of the woman. It was only when I reached my office building that my breath caught. Across the street, leaning against a bus stop bench, was the same woman from 2 nights ago. She looked different. Her hair was clean now, pulled back into a low ponytail. She wore dark jeans, a hoodie, and sneakers, nothing like the oversized coat or floral dress. And she wasn't alone. A man I recognized from my own building, 3rd floor, always carrying groceries, was standing close to her, speaking in a low, tense voice. The woman glanced in my direction, and for a split second, our eyes met. Then she turned back to the man like she hadn't seen me at all. Who was she? And how did she know someone in my building? The next morning, I sat at my kitchen table with the curtains drawn and my phone in my hand. I hadn't gone to work. I hadn't even made coffee. My apartment felt smaller than usual, every wall pressing in just enough to remind me that somewhere, someone thought they were in control of me. By mid-morning, I knew who it was. I'd been running names in my head all night, and one stood out, not because they'd done something obvious, but because they'd been too quiet lately. Liam. My upstairs neighbor. We'd been friendly for years, shared takeout, swapped spare keys during vacations. He always knew when I was home, when I left, and for how long. And lately, he'd been asking too many casual questions. I called Mara. We met in a corner booth of a diner far from my neighborhood. She looked more alert than before, like she'd been tracking something all morning. "He's the one, isn't he?" I said before she could speak. Her eyes flickered. "You're not wrong." "Why? What does he want?" She leaned in, lowering her voice. "He's working with someone with money. Your leverage. I don't know the details, but it's not about you owing them or anything like that. It's about controlling your choices. Keeping you where they want you." I sat back, my stomach churning. "And you?" "I'm here because I didn't stop the last job they gave me," she said, eyes fixed on mine. "The person got hurt. Bad. I'm not making that mistake again." When I got home that evening, the street was empty. No sedan. No Liam. For the first time in days, it was quiet enough to hear my own footsteps in the hallway. I'd just locked my door when my new phone, the cheap flip Mara had given me, buzzed. The number was blocked. I opened the message. "Next move is yours." I stood there, staring at the words. My pulse didn't spike this time. My hands were steady. I saved the number. Then I sat down at my desk, opened my laptop, and started typing every detail I knew: names, times, faces. If they wanted a game, I was done being the one without the rules. Another message came in. This time, I didn't just read it. I smiled. "Whatever's coming, I'm going to be ready." I barely slept that night. The curtains stayed shut, the lights off. I just sat at the kitchen table, running names through my mind and crossing them off one by one. Every path circled back to the same person, Liam. But Liam wasn't just my upstairs neighbor. He was the boy I rode bikes with in our old neighborhood, the one who walked me home from school, the first person I ever trusted with a real secret. My childhood friend. The idea that he could be behind any of this felt wrong, until I started replaying the last few months. The coincidental encounters in the lobby. The way he always seemed to know when I was leaving or getting home. The fact that he still had a spare key to my place from years ago, and I'd never asked for it back. I met Mara late the next morning at a busy downtown cafe. The noise of clinking cups and constant chatter made it easier to speak without feeling like someone could listen in. "I know who it is," I said as soon as I sat down. My voice came out steadier than I expected. "Liam." Mara didn't flinch. She just nodded once. "Why?" I asked. Her gaze sharpened. "I don't know the full reason. But he's not acting alone. He's working with someone with money, patience, and a reason to keep you exactly where they want you." I gripped the edge of the table. "And you?" "I'm here because I didn't help the last person they targeted," she said quietly. "And they didn't make it out clean. I'm not letting that happen again." When I got home, the street was empty. No black sedan. No Liam. For a moment, I felt like maybe it was over, until the cheap flip phone Mara had given me buzzed in my pocket. Blocked number. One new text. "Next move is yours." I stared at the screen, and for the first time since this started, my pulse didn't race. My hands were steady. I saved the number. Then I opened my laptop and started typing every detail. Names, times, places. If this was a game, I wasn't going to be the one without the rules anymore. Another message came in. This time, I didn't just read it. I smiled. "Whatever's coming, I'm going to be ready,"